Welcome to the CU 2.0 podcast.
Hi, and welcome to the CU 2.0 podcast with big new ideas about credit unions and conversations about innovative technology with credit union and fintech leaders. This podcast is brought to you by Quillo, the real-time loan syndication network for credit unions, and by your host, longtime credit union and financial technology journalist Robert McGarvey. And now, the CU 2.0 podcast with Robert McGarvey.
And First Entertainment Credit Union begat CineFi. Say what? Begat CineFi? First Entertainment is the big show business credit union based in Hollywood. It has assets of around $2.1 billion. It serves around 90,000 members. Many of them work in Hollywood doing everything from acting to the skilled crafts such as set building that create Hollywood's magic. The show is Stephen Owen, CEO of First Entertainment, and he is here to tell what CineFi is, why First Entertainment birthed it, and why it is based in Atlanta, Georgia, some 2,300 miles removed from Hollywood. CineFi is a digital-only institution, no branches, and right now its offerings consist of checking and savings, although Owen says the plan is to augment that product slate later in 2026. How to become a CineFi member? The FOM consists of a handful of Georgia counties centered around Atlanta. Although the aim is to serve the large number of entertainment industry professionals who live in the Atlanta area, CineFi is open to others as well. Owen explains in the show. Understand, CineFi does not have its own charter. Owen tells us how it came into existence, and he adds there may be CineFi's opening elsewhere in the country, too. Ours is an age when the creation of new credit unions is rare indeed. You can count on one hand how many were birthed in the U.S. in 2025 and have a finger to spare. So the creation of CineFi is an exciting event, and it just may give CEOs and boards of other credit unions the impulse to do something similar. How cool would that be? How cool? Listen. I've been looking at First Entertainment and CineFi.
Yeah.
Now, CineFi is not a credit union exactly.
It is a credit union.
Well, isn't it sort of a subsidiary of a credit union?
It is, yeah, it's a credit union that's, it's a sub-brand of the First Entertainment Credit Union.
Right. But it doesn't have its own charter.
No, it's under the First Entertainment Charter.
Right.
Yep.
And why Atlanta?
Great question. So Atlanta has emerged over the last 20 years or so as really probably the second biggest film and TV production place in America.
Wow.
The Georgia's legislature has offered some pretty attractive incentives to make film and TV in Atlanta and around Atlanta. It's actually Georgia overall, but most of that is in Atlanta, but there's other parts of Georgia that have it as well. And it's attracted a lot of people down there, and they've created quite the community of talent down there that's making great content, state-of-the-art studios all over. I mean, being an industry that's only 20 years old down there, when you compare that to LA, I mean, many of the studios here were built, long time ago. Most of the ones in and around Atlanta and Georgia are state-of-the-art, built in the last 20 years. So when we looked at other markets to serve entertainment people, Georgia, came right to the top of the list.
I assume you have some other markets as possible future locations, e.g. Nashville and Austin, to name two fairly obvious ones.
Absolutely. I mean, there's even other markets beyond that, even bigger markets than those. Like Las Vegas has a huge live event business.
Oh yeah, right.
But Atlanta is one where we're going to Atlanta. That's our focus right now, is serving those people down there. I think they've been underserved for a long time. Many of the people down there, Robert, have told me that we've been waiting on you for 20 years for a financial institution like CineFi to come down there and serve their needs, because you understand us and you know what it's like to have irregular income and things like that. So we're really excited about it.
Now, for listeners who don't understand or know, First Entertainment is pretty much the big dog in the world of Hollywood-related credit unions, right? I mean, you're vastly bigger than any competitor.
Yeah, there's other competitors that serve like SAG-AFTRA. They serve above the line people, whereas we serve primarily below the line people, which are your the IATSE union, which includes a lot of people in various crafts that make movies and TV. So yeah, we're pretty big in the space. We've been doing business here for almost 60 years. We have a good sense of what their needs are and the uniqueness of their financial needs, and we've been doing that well for many years. But as we mentioned, primarily here in LA, some of our members, Robert, have migrated to other parts of the country, and quite frankly, Atlanta has been one of those. We looked at our own member data and said we've got quite a few members that have migrated from LA to Atlanta over the last 20 years. And again, in that data also showed us that there's a huge market of people there that don't bank with a credit union, and CineFi will be able to serve their needs there in Georgia.
What's your target for? Yeah, how big do you want CineFi to be a year from now? Or how big do you hope it will be a year from now?
I would say, we've got some growth goals. I think it's growing, a couple thousand members. We're spending money. We've been down there the last couple of years as this came to inception, and as we did a lot of research. I spent quite a bit of time in Atlanta especially in the last year, getting to know the people down there. And I would say, there's probably 60,000 people that work in and around entertainment down there. I'd love to have all of them as members, but I think the goal is to grow it. We're spending money on marketing, but we're also having word of mouth down there. Entertainment, like, many communities, there's a lot of people that know and work together and they talk to each other, and that we bring in a financial institution that's unique and serves their needs. The word will spread and spread wide, along with our marketing efforts and things like that. It's already, I'm actually pretty impressed 2 weeks in that we're doing pretty well thus far, and I'm excited about what the future holds for us.
Now, what's the field of membership for CineFi? How does a person qualify to be a member?
So we have 8 counties in Georgia. They are DeKalb, Gwinnett, I'm trying to remember all of them, Rockdale, Fayette, Fulton, and Newton County and Paulding County as well. So that encompasses probably about 65% of the Atlanta metro area. So they would join through our community charter of those 8 counties in Georgia. And there's other ways like Filmmakers Alliance that they can join as well if they were to live outside of those 8 counties in Atlanta.
Now, if an Uber driver wants to join CineFi and lives in one of those 8 counties, they're eligible to join.
Sure, absolutely.
And would you embrace them with open arms? And
I mean, we're not going to turn away anybody. I mean, our focus, our primary target audience is the people that work in entertainment. But I think with any financial institution or credit union, that people who you've got brand awareness, and somebody, a friend who works in entertainment tells their friend who's an Uber driver that they've got this great institution that's got great user experience, no fees, high yields on their checking and savings account, and they want to join, we welcome them.
now, how would you characterize the mood among your members in LA right now? I mean, from what I've read, and I don't read extensively on this, but I've read some, and everything from Hollywood Reporter and New York Times, as a state of panic has descended.
I would not use the word panic, Robert. What I would say is that it is challenged, to say the least. California brought back some tax incentives last year and extending into this year, and that has helped the industry bring more work here in California. So it's helping. But I think what they recognize, as I talk to members and people on the studios, studio leadership and others, and read stuff like you do, I don't think the industry is going through a lot of transition and change. Consumers are consuming content differently than they have before. And so I think what they're realizing is that adaptability needs to be there. And so people are still finding work. It's not as good as it once was, and it probably never will be, but it's changing. I mean, I talk to many members who are struggling to find work, and I have others that tell me they're covered up in work. And so it just depends. So I wouldn't call it a panic stage. I would call it a transition stage. And they're having to find, it's being a bit scrappy. These people are already scrappy and hustlers and working hard. And I think they're finding they have to do a little bit more of that in order to get the work they need to sustain themselves.
Yeah, I'm an old guy. I remember I lived in Venice, California many years ago, and a neighbor of mine was an illustrator for Disney,
Hmm.
and he was a pen and ink paint illustrator. And then he was out of work because everything transitioned into computers, and he didn't want to do computers.
Hmm.
It's and that was tragic for him. It was sad for him, but it is, but the computer stuff actually is pretty good. I'm not saying it's better than human, but it's really good. And there's opportunity for work in that too. And I think a similar thing is happening now.
I mean, I would say, Robert, that's not just true of entertainment. That's
Oh,
true
sure, it's
of
true of
every,
my business.
every industry.
I'm a
I think
journalist. It's good God, yes.
so. Just like entertainment, just like any industry, I think have to be agile and nimble to the changing of times and the changing of technology and how that's impacting. AI is impacting everyone. It impacts the credit union that we're here at First Entertainment, CineFi, and everywhere across the world. So I think it's entertainment is going through that, but I think the crafts that exist in the entertainment business, there's still a need for those because they bring that magic to life, and we still want to see them. But there's no doubt that computers and technology are changing how they do their work.
So now let's go back. First Entertainment, I assume you have a national charter.
But we do not. We have a state charter, so we have a seg charter. So we serve. We have a seg charter for entertainment, various several hundred entertainment companies. Then we also have a community charter in the county of LA.
So how can you open up a subsidiary, if you will, in Georgia?
So I go to my regulator here in California, which is DFPI, and I tell them that I want to operate in these, in these counties in Georgia. So I went to California, and then I also went to Georgia. They get together and talk about, how they're going to do their process together, and they granted me the 8 counties in Georgia to serve those people down there.
Cool, cool.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was looking at this saying, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm saying I've never quite seen this before.
Yeah,
So,
it happens more than you realize. It's in, if you're federal chartered, you can serve anybody, quite frankly, anywhere through either SEGs or potentially through associations.
oh, I live in Phoenix, and there's a Navy Federal office, building, branch, whatever you want to call it, like a
Hmm.
mile from me, and that's a long way from Virginia. Last I looked,
Yeah.
so it's and so yeah, but it is called Navy Federal. It's not called First Arizona or something like that. So,
Right.
what's your staffing in Atlanta at this point?
We actually only have one person on the ground there. She's in business development, and she's out there building relationships with the studios and all the entertainment people down there, going to events. There's a lot of events in and around Georgia. It's a very tight knit community, which is quite impressive down there. Those people stick together down there. They all know one another, and so getting her immersed into that community has been great. She's been with us now a couple of months, and she's doing a great job of building some alliances down there and sharing with people what CineFi can do for them and their employees and people working in their industry.
Now, are you going to do all the data processing for CineFi through the First Entertainment computers?
We actually use a new technology stack. We engaged with Nimbus. Nimbus is a fully integrated system, and Nimbus will do all the data work. They're the core. They're the new account opening front end as well as the digital banking piece of it. And so Nimbus is separate from what we have today at First Entertainment, but all integrates on the very back end. But Nimbus also is doing the managed services side. So they're handling the chat, and, call center, and things like that. They're handling that for us on CineFi's behalf.
Now, why did your board approve this expansion? And what were they seeing as the benefit?
I think that we all recognize, as we talked earlier, Robert, about the changing landscape of entertainment and the migration away from LA. And as we did a lot of research about how does the business need to operate in the future, I've got some pretty forward thinking and forward looking board members who see the future, banking in particular, but also entertainment. And as we looked at, where do we roll this out to start? We looked at a lot of data, as I mentioned earlier, and Atlanta came to the top of the list. And so when you're digital only like CineFi is, we're not down there building a bunch of, branches. We can roll this out with marketing and word of mouth, and it can take off. And we're already seeing that in the first couple weeks in that it's doing quite well, and we expect it to continue to do well. So the board has been this is a very long-term strategy for First Entertainment and CineFi, and our board has the vision to see that into the future.
Well, if you opened up in other cities, would these also be called CineFi?
Potentially, yes. I mean, they could be a different brand, but most likely, I think CineFi is a great brand. I think we're going to prove that in and around Atlanta in the coming months and years, and they could potentially be CineFi. I don't see any reason why we would change that brand if it's got the awareness, got the credibility, great experience, and great value. We can probably roll that out anywhere in America and it resonate.
Yeah, well, certainly any place where there are entertainment companies,
Right.
you could roll it out. I mean, I just find this fascinating because it's a cool brand extension, although you're not extending the First Entertainment brand, but the concept underlying it.
Right.
It's now I assume you're convinced people will be satisfied with digital only.
I think people have to make choices. If they want a financial institution with branches, that CineFi may not be the best service for them or best provider for them. But if they want, no fees, a company that understands them and their different types of earning streams that they have, if they want great tools, project tracking tools, the ability to get their credit score within the app, financial education within a community that, knows them, CineFi is great for them. And we have services, call center, chat, all those things. As I mentioned earlier, you can engage us and you can use 33,000 ATMs in America fee free. And we also have ATM rebates. So they can use any ATM in the world. And, there's a limit on that every month, but they can use any ATM and we refund those fees.
Do you have shared branching too?
Yes, it's part of the shared branching. That's the 33,000 ATMs.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But those used to be two different co-op products, if you will.
Yeah.
Sure. I've
Well,
often
let me correct that, Robert. Not the shared branching network, but yes, the ATM network of co-op. Yes.
Okay.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Well, hey, my principal credit union is 2,300 miles from me. I've never been in a branch. I've been a member for 15 plus years. I've used shared branching exactly once because I had a check that was above my deposit limit.
Mhm.
And I could have raised it in a telephone call, but it seems simpler. I just wanted to play and see what shared branching was all about. It worked great, but that once in all those years, I love the ATM network thing. I mean, that's
Right.
critical, but that's all I need, man. I'm good. That and
Yeah.
digital.
You should join CineFi and let us know what you think.
You have to live or work in one of those counties, right?
You can join through Filmmakers Alliance if you like. Most of our members are coming from Atlanta, but there's other people that join outside that.
Oh, well, the way I got into my principal credit union was I gave X bucks to a charity.
Yep.
And X was a very small number. I forget what it was. It was so
Right.
many years ago. Are you competing with local institutions in Atlanta?
Absolutely. I don't think there's anybody, Robert, that can serve the needs and understands these entertainment workers in Georgia like CineFi does. And so, I mean, your traditional financial institutions, they're based on steady work streams and steady paychecks. And, as you and I have already talked, entertainment people don't earn quite like that. They're doing gigs, they're working freelance, they're earning pay through various sources. And so we understand that. And, we've got tools and as I said, financial education embedded in the app, which helps them understand how to plan for hiatus time or, the month and a half that they don't work because they work for 6 weeks prior to that nonstop. And so, yes, we're competing with others down there. I think any market you go into, you're going to be competing against other financial institutions, but I feel like nobody can serve the needs of those folks in Georgia quite like CineFi can.
Do IATSE workers have regular workflow? I mean, I personally knew a lot of SAG people, and they had highly irregular workflow, with the exception of a few who had regular gigs on TV series. Whereas I thought the tradecraft people often work pretty regularly.
I think they're same as some of the people you mentioned. I mean, they work irregular. I mean, they're working on one show That show may end. They may not work for a couple weeks, and then they get called to for the same job to do to another show or a commercial or a movie, and so they work again. So it is irregular. I mean, there's certainly, to your point, if you're on a successful show, you may get called back, 5, 7, 10 years in a row to do the same work, but you're typically not working a full 12 months. You may work 4, 5, 6 months with that show, but you may need to work other times, and you're doing other things with other shows, other movies, other commercials. So it is highly irregular work. They earn well when they're working, but they're not always working.
So if a person comes into First Entertainment, or I assume CineFi will probably work the same way, and wants to buy a $50,000 car, how do you credit check them?
Well, CineFi, starting off with, Robert, only has a high yield savings and a spend account or a checking account.
Okay.
We are not doing loans today. We are going to roll out loans later this year, personal loans and credit cards later in 2026. Other products may be added next year and beyond, but those two deposit accounts today are all we have in CineFi. But we'll be adding, as I said, personal loans and credit cards later this year.
So how do you do that at First Entertainment?
Car loans?
Right, big car loans, $50,000, $75,000.
One of the things, the beauty of First Entertainment is we understand those irregular earning streams. We've been underwriting loans like that, Robert, for 60 years. And so we do loans like that every day. We have a pretty healthy business in auto lending. We continue to do that. And members come to us because we do understand how they earn. How they earn is differently than most people in America.
Yeah, my ex-wife was a SAG member, and she could make like $10,000 in a week and then go 2 months without making a penny.
Exactly. That's exactly what we see. As I said, you said what I said earlier, which is they make a lot of money when they work, and then they may not work for a period of time. So it's all about how they plan their expenses in those times that they're not working.
And I guess you've developed skills at helping people plan.
We do. I mean, I think it's all about those financial tools. Like I said, it's embedded in the app. We curated this stuff ourselves. It's not something we bought off a shelf. We actually made it ourselves with our partners about how to plan your budget during hiatus time. How to plan for, if you're new to the industry, how do you plan for a regular income? It's a different skill set and a different way to manage your money than maybe us that work a regular 9 to 5 type job or regular paycheck week in and week out. So it is unique and different, and we're going to continue to add more content to that library of financial education embedded in the app as time goes on, as we get requests from people about different topics that they want to hear or learn about. We'll add that content to it as we move forward. And that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on, with both First Entertainment, but also with CineFi, is understanding how they work and how it's different, and how we can build content that resonates with them, that can help them manage their money.
Now, why did you call it CineFi, not First Entertainment / Atlanta?
It was just to do something new and different. I think, the First Entertainment brand is quite strong and quite aware here in LA. But I think when we decided to go to a new market, I mean, that market is 2,300 miles away. We're going to use a different technology stack. It is going to be digital only. First Entertainment is a traditional credit union, Robert, that's just like, many other credit unions with branches and call centers and all the like. And, when you roll out, if you try to go to a new market like that and you're resonating with, First Entertainment Credit Union, people may think, well, where's the branch? And, how do I do these things? How do I get auto loans or mortgages? CineFi doesn't have that. So when we started this, we said, how do we start with a new technology stack and a new experience that is digital only? And we do it with a new brand and see how that resonates. What this means for the future, Robert, I don't know, but I do like the idea of doing it with learning something new. We're in learning mode, but we're also learning with our members, both the First Entertainment members as well as the new CineFi members as they join. And so that's why we did something different, is because we don't have the same products that we have at First Entertainment.
Now, are you getting contacted by credit union CEOs interested in doing something similar?
I do get.
I mean, I find what you're doing intriguing. And if I were CEO of a credit union, that's the basic business is stagnating. Not the credit union necessarily, but the credit union is stagnating because the basic business is stagnating.
Right.
And, what can I do to expand? And I'd look at you and I say, well, this guy's doing something I've never heard of before. I think I'll try it.
I got a lot of good friends in as other credit union CEOs, and I talk to them often, and they're intrigued by what we're doing. Like most people, they're probably waiting to see if this thing's successful. But we're not first at this, Robert. There's others that have paved the way before us. So I'm not saying we're the only one that has done this. Our going to Atlanta and serving a community like entertainment is certainly new and different than anybody's ever done. But I think there's a lot of great leaders in credit union land, and I think many of them are considering things like this, maybe not the same thing as CineFi, but I think we're all looking to continue to be relevant and viable for generations to come. And I think you have to think differently in order to do that.
I also think if I'm on the board and your board, I look at the downside risk, I would probably say to myself, geez, if we bust this thing out and close it down a year from now, it's still just going to be a rounding error on our books.
Probably more than that.
I mean, this is,
but I think
it's not going to jeopardize the
no.
future health of First Entertainment. Even if the thing just goes totally boom, it's not going to kill First Entertainment.
No, it's not. And here's what I would say, Robert. I would say that CineFi is helping us at First Entertainment overall grow and learn and adapt and be more innovative. And so I think, CineFi will be successful, First Entertainment will be successful, but I think through this process, we've been down this, I've been down this journey for 2.5 years. It has already informed us of how we can be better serving our members, be more innovative, give greater value to our members through this endeavor. So, even though it's a new entity and obviously it's going to be successful on its own merits, I think it has informed First Entertainment of how we can be better for our members and be more successful in the future as well.
I totally get that. I think I talked to a lot of CEOs, and many of them are still emotionally, intellectually stuck in what I call the analog age of banking, i.e., branches.
Yep.
Without a branch, what are we, man? That's where our member contact starts. And I say, hey, man, I never go to a branch. I don't want to. If I go in there, I'm mad. You don't want to see me.
I think, branches are, there's many consumers in America, Robert, still want to know they have a branch they can go to.
Sure, but you're being forced through CineFi to learn what it's like to do business only digitally.
And we, as consumers, Robert, everybody makes choices. You make choices of what pants you wear, what food you buy, and where you buy your food. I mean, consumers have plenty of choices for everything. And what CineFi brings to the table, again, unique and different, again, great value. I mean, the value that CineFi brings in, say, the high yield savings account, not many people can do that because it is a digital only. I don't have to pay for brick and mortar like, we do at First Entertainment or other financial institutions. So, again, it's everybody makes a choice, and CineFi is one where people have to consider and say, do I want to make a choice to do business with a digital-only financial institution that has a great experience and great value in a community that I'm part of? If the answer is yes, then we welcome them. But they can choose to do business with a credit union that has branches down the street, and they do that every day as well also.
Well, also, we're no longer in the age of monogamous relationships with financial institutions.
True.
I mean, I have at least two main financial institutions that I do business with. One's a credit union, one's not. This is the norm. Very few people just have one. So you could have CineFi and then Chase or whatever the big dog is in Atlanta.
I call it the unbundling of banking, right? I mean, like you said, my parents would have, banked at the same place for everything. The way you bank, the way I bank is, you're going to go to the best credit card provider you believe, or the best mortgage, or the best high yield savings. And consumers and Americans make those choices all the time. It's right here on your phone. Is you can do all those things with multiple institutions quite easily.
Right. No, I really admire this effort. And obviously, I hope it succeeds. It's because it's doing something cool, and the credit union industry doesn't do cool things too often.
I appreciate that.
Before we go, think hard. about how you can help support this podcast so we can do more interviews with more thoughtful leaders in the credit union world. What we're trying to figure out here in these podcasts is what's next for credit unions. What can they do to really, really, really make a difference in the financial scene? Can't all be mega banks, can it? It's my hope it won't all be mega banks. It'll always be a place for credit unions. That's what we're discussing here. So figure out how you can help. Get in touch with me. This is rjmcgarvey@gmail.com. Robert McGarvey again. That's rjmcgarvey@gmail.com. Get in touch. We'll figure out a way that you can help. We need your support. We want your support. We thank you for your support. The CU 2.0 podcast.